For some weird reason my mother-in-law really wants to go into her bedroom whenever she comes over. On one occasion I followed her as she went upstairs. I was going to get something for my child as the bedrooms are upstairs, and she walked past the bathroom on the main floor and up the stairs behind it. She didn't hear me and I caught her walking straight into my room and rifling through bills on my dresser. She denied snooping, even though I just watched her do it, and said she was just going to use our bathroom because she couldn't find the other ones. She walked right past the one on the main floor and another one in the upstairs hallway to go into her bedroom. Since that happened, I installed an exterior doorknob that requires a key on our bedroom door and one on the door to her office and spare bedroom. However, she's still always forgetting where the bathroom is and trying the bedroom and office door. This really ticks me off. My husband says that I just get annoyed at this because everything she does drives me crazy, and since we put locks on the rooms we don't want her in, there isn't really a problem anymore. Well, over the holidays we had my in-laws over for dinner, and before they came I was searching for the bedroom keys. We hadn't used them in a while since we only lock the doors when mother-in-law comes over. My husband told me we didn't need to lock the doors since she wouldn't try to get into the rooms, and I insisted that she would because she loves to snoop. We went back and forth and decided to cover the doorknobs in super fine glitter to see if she tried them. I did this once before when husband didn't believe me about the snooping to prove she'd been in the rooms. Last time she ignored the glitter and we didn't say anything about it, but then my husband couldn't deny that she tried to snoop. So this time I covered the knobs in glitter, and for the office went a touch further and rigged a little folder of glitter over the door to the office before the in-laws came over. I left it one side unlocked French doors, and it was set so if you walked in the room you would get covered in glitter. Husband goes out of his way to show his mom the main floor bathroom when they got here, and specifically asks his parents and sister not to go upstairs. There's a baby gate, so the kids can't get upstairs either. Well, guess who had to go to the bathroom and got covered in glitter and had it all over their hands and hair? She completely lost it and started screaming at me, so I yelled back, and now my husband is saying I went too far, and I'm the idiot. Mother-in-law also says I'm the idiot, but sister-in-law says I didn't do anything wrong, and mother-in-law deserved it for snooping. Father-in-law is Switzerland. Apparently her car is ruined now too because it's covered in glitter that she can't get cleaned up. So am I the idiot? Not the idiot. I had a good laugh at this. I feel like you did a good job leading up to this and were incredibly patient with a boundary-stomping mother-in-law. My petty back doesn't see this as your fault. I mean, sure, we know you set a trap for her, but she had been explicitly told time and time again to not go into those rooms. I mean, how were you really supposed to know she would ruin your nice and neat glitter envelope that you worked so hard on and accidentally left on the door of the office? The way I see it, she owes you an apology because her recklessness got glitter all over your floors, and you now have to refill your special glitter envelope. Not the idiot. She shouldn't have snooped. She knew exactly where the bathroom was, and your husband went out of his way to show her where the bathroom was so she couldn't use that excuse. Then she tried to snoop anyway. That is completely on her. Your husband needs to take her in hand and tell her off, make it clear she was 100% in the wrong. This is even better than the fake mother-in-law from the other day. You did not go too far, this is just the consequences of her own snooping actions. Don't let your husband make you doubt yourself. She did this to herself. If she hadn't snooped she wouldn't have got covered in glitter. The end. Not the idiot. Next time you should leave a glass of orange juice on your desk. It would pair right up with your serial snooper. I would say you've got a pretty serious problem on your hands though. The problem isn't your mother-in-law, but your husband. You found a practical solution, lock the doors. Even though your husband wasn't fully on board, he went with it. Now he denied that there was a problem, and it's sparkling while glaring at him, and he's still in denial that there's a problem in the first place. If you can't get your husband to start using the door locks, I'd either lock up your paperwork when mother-in-law comes over, or get creative with some fake paperwork to find. Some quick background knowledge. My mom died when I was 8 years old, and upon her passing, my dad and I discovered she was much wealthier than we thought. She set up an education fund with enough money to put me through college and grad school, and attend a private school. I attended a private school I had a partial scholarship to, and then went to college on a full scholarship I worked insanely hard for. I went to grad school on no scholarship, so I dipped into a bit of the education money. However, after all of that, I still had quite a bit of money left over, so I planned to use it for any kids I had in the future. And now the present. My biological daughter, Anna, 17F, has attended a private high school, and recently got into a good college on a partial scholarship. She wants to go to medical school. Between the three of those, if she can get a partial scholarship to medical school, I would be able to help her out significantly, so she would be in very little debt. I recognized how insanely privileged we are to have this opportunity, and both my daughter and I are super happy to have it. I have a stepson, Jake, 18M, who is also going to college this fall. He didn't go to the same high school as Anna, because he didn't get in, so he went to the local public school. He's still an excellent athlete and student, and that landed him a partial scholarship at his top choice college. Obviously, I was super elated and super proud of both my children. Here's where the issue comes in. My husband and I, who have been married for 3 years now, came up with a plan for parenting, financing and all that stuff. We plan to keep most of the money separate when it comes to kids. Obviously, we both contribute to buying them presents and stuff, but we left cars, college, etc. up to the other one, and it's worked out pretty well. Both Anna and Jake have cars that they have paid for, and we matched whatever they saved. I matched for Anna, and my husband matched for Jake. So, for college, it was obviously decided my husband had Jake's stuff under control, and I'd be dealing with Anna's. However, my husband finds it very unfair that Anna will be in no debt, and Jake will be in debt, since I'm covering Anna's college costs, but not Jake's. My husband says it's unfair that Anna will have an easier life than Jake, and called both of us spoiled and entitled children for not sharing the money. My mother-in-law also dropped by yesterday, and told me I was being unfair, and I should help Jake out, and that I clearly loved him less. I explained to both of them that this was the agreement my husband agreed to, and he only has a problem because Anna will end up doing better now. Mother-in-law and husband are both giving me and Anna the silent treatment. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Other people have made valid comments why I would consider your relationship with your husband and what his actions right now say about your relationship and how he sees you. Only you can really say either way about how he sees you. Pay close attention to his reasons, etc. I would also consider your relationship with Jake, as your comments indicate he is trying really hard. Maybe see if there is a way you can reward his seeming good attitude. There is no reason why he seems more mature than Dad about it. Think about if you want to help him and how and what that would mean for your daughter as well. You and husband reached an agreement. I absolutely do not see any wrongdoing on your part. Not the idiot. Your husband and his mama are doing some pretty serious emotional hostage-taking here, and even implicating your daughter in that, based on how they're treating her. That is some pretty serious red flag behavior, Ob. You are adhering to the financial plan that was already agreed upon. Now that your husband knows there is a surprise, untapped pool of dollar, he's throwing an unpleasant tantrum. Plus, if this is a 529 education account, I'm not even sure you can share the wealth, should your husband's efforts at tightening the screws be successful. Major yikes reveal. Not the idiot. You two agreed to take care of your own children. The only way you would be an idiot here is if you had promised to help Jake and now aren't. You said you had met your husband when the kids were 10, so you knew that the money was going to go to your daughter already, and it wouldn't be right to take that away from her, just because Jake's father can't afford the same. This is coming from someone who can't afford college and think a college education should be free or very little cost. You are privileged, yes, and you admit that, but that doesn't mean you have to help Jake out when it was already agreed that his father would be the one helping him. Ryan, fake name, and my sister have been dating 8 years. Ryan doesn't believe in marriage. If Ryan is ever made aware of a wedding and engagement, he tells the couple that he wishes them luck, because you'll need it and spouts divorce rates. Any sign of upset and he'll say it's just my opinion. 2 months ago I found out I was 6 weeks pregnant. I told my boyfriend, and that night when I got home he'd set up the flat for a romantic evening and proposed with a necklace. I hate rings. When I asked if this was because of the baby, he showed me a receipt from January and said he'd wanted to do it for months, but we had a string of bad luck. He got in a car accident, 2 relatives and a childhood pet died, and I lost one of my jobs, so he wanted to wait for some good news. We agreed to tell people when we were past the 3-month stage of the pregnancy. Then yesterday, because we wanted to tell them all at once, we arranged a video call with both sets of parents, my sister and his siblings. We told them. All 4 parents were full on sobbing. I joined them, and our siblings were congratulating us, talking about the wedding and baby, really overall excited and happy for us. Then Ryan shows up and asks if we found out I was pregnant before or after the proposal. Fiancé says before, but and Ryan interrupts and says makes sense. Then he gives us his Ryanisms about how it won't last, and throws in his own views about people who get and stay married just for the kids. He gets a chorus of people telling him to read the room, and he says it's just his opinion. The rest of the call passes with people asking us about the baby and wedding, and Ryan spouting Ryanisms while being told to shut up. About 5 minutes after the call ends, my fiancé gets a Facebook message from Ryan, saying that he didn't want to say this on the call in case he got attacked, but if it were him he'd get a paternity test and a prenup as soon as possible. My fiancé and I earn about the same amount, and I can't believe I have to clarify this, but I would never cheat on him. So I called Ryan. We talked for about 10 minutes, and the short version is that he said he was just being honest, and I said no one asked him to. At one point he implied I intentionally got pregnant, so my fiancé had to propose, and I responded that isn't true, and that talking to him when he's being cynical is freaking exhausting. Ryan hung up, and now I'm getting messages from my sister demanding I apologize for saying talking to him is freaking exhausting. I've said I'm not apologizing until Ryan does, and she says Ryan won't apologize, so it's on me to be the more mature person. Ryan is 37, I am 29, and make amends because I really upset him with the comment about his cynicism being freaking exhausting, and if I apologize for being a witch, sister's words, then she will talk to Ryan about his attitude. Am I the idiot for what I said and not apologizing? Not the idiot. Here's the thing about divorce rates, they're like a good thing, not a sign all marriages fail. A rising divorce rates means that the ability to escape bad situations with domestic violence and abuse has risen. It means that people that are unhappy can't see a way out. A high divorce rate is a sign of a functioning society, and not something to throw in the face of every person getting married. Sister's boyfriend sounds he screws. They'll break up eventually, and your sister will see that too. How does he not see he's being hateful towards her every time he's saying these things? Marriage doesn't change the people in the relationship, so he's still harping on about how his relationship is going to end basically. Not the idiot. What exactly is your apology to him supposed to sound like? Dear Ryan, I am very sorry that I said your snide comments ruining our announcement and follow-up suggestion to my fiancé that I am a cheater were exhausting. In order to ensure this does not happen again, I promise that I will not expose you to any future joyous occasions of mine, including but not limited to our wedding and the birth of our child. Again, please accept my deepest apologies for calling attention to your inappropriate comments. We will make sure to limit your exposure to us, lest we tempt you into further making yourself look like a jerk. Not the idiot. Someone needs to tell Ryan that opinions are like idiots, everyone has one. My 8-year-old has already mastered the concept that just because something is in your head, it doesn't need to come out of your mouth, and just because something is just her opinion doesn't mean that it's okay to say mean things to people. She actually tried that one time, said something really mean about someone, thank goodness, they weren't there, and I called her on it. If my 8-year-old gets it, this 37-year-old should be able to. And I agree, he sounds freaking exhausting. Congress on your engagement and pregnancy. I, 56F, am married to dear husband. DH, 59M. I have multiple chronic illnesses. Our labor division had been me. 36 hours a week, 60% housework, 75% cooking. DH 60 hours a week, 40% housework, 25% cooking, all shopping. 4 months ago mother-in-law was diagnosed with a terminal illness. I took over everything, and was packing up mother-in-law's house while working. My mother-in-law is wonderful, and DH was always good me, so I never complained during this hard time. A month ago, mother-in-law passed, and my husband sank into grief. He hasn't worked, hasn't showered, and hasn't eaten unless forced. I planned the funeral, stored things, and sold the house, so DH didn't have to. DH has PTO, so I'm not worried about him losing his job, but I have tried to encourage him to get out of bed and come sit with me and do things. While mother-in-law was still with us, I began suffering multiple acute flares, leaving me exhausted, dizzy, and vomiting multiple times a day. My doctor gave me meds and told me to rest, but I was still vomiting and had so much to do. Monday, everything gave out. I passed out at work. I was concussed, my head split open, I was covered in blood, I vomited all over myself and aspirated, and on top of that, I lost continency. The doctor said that I was so overworked, my body hit the reset button, and I needed to take off at least 2 weeks to recover. I was mortified and upset, and I just wanted DH to bring me a clean change of clothes and hold my hand. He said he was too tired to drive, so my best friend Carol went over to pick him and the clothes up. I was surprised when she came back alone and said he wouldn't get out of bed. I said, at least he picked out my clothes, and she said he didn't, she did. I was in for several days for fluids, medication, and observation. Carol came and saw me every day, but DH didn't visit once and was tired when I called. Carol drove me home, she helped me in and told DH very sternly to take care of me. He waited until she left and then laid into me for leaving him for days and how he starved and how the bathroom was filthy and I needed to clean it. I lost it. I started sobbing, which shocked him because I'm not a crier, but I screamed at him that I'm sorry his mom is dead, but he could have lost me, too, and he didn't act like he cared. I told him I was done because I worked myself too near death for him. He needed to get his crap together and help around the house again, not the other way around. He sat there in shocked silence, and I told him if he had nothing to say, I was going to call Carol. I'm currently at Carol's house and will be hiring a home care nurse for the next week, so Carol doesn't have to look after me. But I just feel like an awful human being for screaming and devaluing the loss of his mom, but I also feel so heartbroken for the way I was treated. Really awful situation. The topic of grief makes it very difficult to judge anyone an idiot. My only advice is to do what you're already doing. Hire some help. I think you're in the airplane oxygen mask situation right now. You gotta do yours before you can do his. I hope he snaps out of it while you take care of yourself. Still, you carried an enormous burden as long as you could. I say you're not the idiot regardless of your final reaction. I can't judge him with the information available. Good luck and take care of yourself. Take a few hours to listen to good music. Read a great book. Whatever fills you up. Not the idiot, and I hope you're soon feeling much better. You need to give your husband an ultimatum that he has to get out of bed and see his doctor, because he has classic symptoms of depression, and he needs help or he's going to lie there until he's dead. If he makes one comment about wanting to die, doesn't want to live, or being suicidal, call 911, because they can do a 72-hour hold for psychiatric reasons, and hopefully that can help. Do not do anything for him, he needs to help himself, you can't fix this for him. I'm glad you have a good friend who is letting you stay with her. Not the idiot. I have the greatest sympathy for his loss, I can't even imagine how that must have felt. But he almost lost you too. Honestly, if this is how he copes with grief and reacts to almost losing his wife, he needs therapy at the absolute minimum. Individual for him, and it might not be a bad idea to add couples therapy into the mix after a while, once he has settled in with his therapist and started working through his issues. I would make him getting therapy a condition of you moving back once you've healed. His treatment of an indifference to you and your needs is unacceptable. I'm glad you've got such a good friend in Carol.